holy crap. We just had something really interesting, and we have some crazy numbers. If you want the hopium for Bitcoin here today, I've got it for you. I'll show you some numbers that have been thrown around for Bitcoin, and I want to tell you a little bit of the behind the scenes at the Bitcoin conference. But we have some news coming out at the Bitcoin conference, which I want to hit on. And Michael Saylor also issued a warning. So let's get into it. Big shout out. I got a free shirt at the Bitcoin conference from someone that knew me. Orange is the new green. That's pretty sweet. So appreciate that. Also met a ton of cool people. If you're at the Bitcoin conference and you see me, feel free to say hi. It's awesome. I love meeting people, talking about what they're doing, how they got into Bitcoin, that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's awesome. Met probably 20 or 30 people. Now let's go over to crypto. Let's talk about the important stuff here. If you don't mind though, last thing, if you do want to trade crypto, it's moving up. Bitcoin's at 68. If you want to trade Bitcoin, you can do that with Margex underneath the video or CoinW. I've used this to help leverage up in a safe way. I think the risk to reward is good, obviously. There are links underneath the video. Now let's look at what's happening here today. And I covered some of this in the video this morning. I'll just hit on a couple of things that I covered in the video this morning. Well, we have public company Semler Scientific issuing debt, or saying that they're going, not issuing debt, telling that they're going to issue more shares. They're going to sell more shares to buy more Bitcoin. The other option is you can always go through debt and buy some more Bitcoin. I actually talked to someone that's doing that with their business, consistently getting more and more leverage, using cash flows, converting everything into Bitcoin. BlackRock said they're not really interested in crypto besides Bitcoin and Ethereum. But again, as I said this morning, I think that's a bit of a way to get people to not realize like what their end goal is, which is to buy everything that's relevant, that's going to be important in the future. So Solana, they're probably interested in, but they're not coming out and saying that they're interested in it and just letting everyone go out and buy Solana and front run them. Now let's get to the stuff since that last video. U.S. President candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. says he will sign an executive order for the U.S. to buy 550 Bitcoin a day until they build a reserve of 4 million BTC. This is if he becomes president. Again, it looks like he's not going to become president anyways. But this is kind of nuts. I mean, this would take a long time. Let's see how much time that would take. Divide by 550. We're looking at 7,072 days. 7272 divided by 365. We're talking about a long-term plan of about 20 years. He's talking about buying Bitcoin every day for 20 years. This is more than what's issued, more than the amount of Bitcoin that's mined every day, right? The new issuance of Bitcoin. That's interesting. Again, it would be very difficult. And keep in mind, like 4 years down the line, there's half as much mined. So they would buy everything that's on the market plus about 1.5 extra million of Bitcoin over time. This is really interesting, as Michael Saylor created a speech talking about individuals buying Bitcoin, talking about companies buying Bitcoin, talking about countries buying Bitcoin, and he did a couple other as well. But we'll go through that in a second. But this is fascinating. Again, not likely to happen, but shows you that there are people that have a position of, or are fighting for a position of power, have 1% of the votes that are thinking this way, and that's very different than the last election. VanEck CEO says he owns way over 30% of his portfolio in Bitcoin. I'll be honest, when I hear that, I try to go look up how much the VanEck CEO is worth. I can't find it, but they run $108 billion. So if he's not a billionaire, he's probably close after being in the business for a long time, managing money, being in traditional finance. So yeah, maybe he's worth a couple $100 million, $1 billion, whatever it is. And yeah, it sounds like he has maybe closer to 50% Bitcoin or something like that. So obviously heavily believes in it. That's with his business also having a lot of exposure to Bitcoin. Okay, so the fact is, Michael also issued a warning, right? If you hold all your assets in something that's taxed heavily, in something that can be taken away from you, in something that doesn't perform well, it will continue to be devalued. continue to be eroded away. And based on some of the numbers I'm about to show you, he thinks that people could be worth a lot. And he gives different criteria for how to move up the chain in terms of your Bitcoin maxi-ness. And to be clear, I think diversification is key. But I guarantee you, people rethought their strategy after listening to what I'm about to show you. Okay, Michael Saylor. Let's just say this. If you weren't in the room, you didn't understand the energy. The energy when he comes out, like, he is a rock star. Like, there are people that are, everyone give him a standing ovation, taking photos when he comes out. Every slide, people, 1 out of every 10 people are putting their phone up in the air to take a picture of the slide. Like, for their own phone, right? They know that they can probably get it here, but they're still taking pictures. Like, people are hooting and hollering. He has to stop because people are clapping. Like, it's nuts. Look at this. 2045, 20 years from now, bear case scenario. He gives Bitcoin $3 million. Okay. All right. I'll take a 50x for the bear case. That's okay with me, right? 50x, I'll deal with it. Base case, 13 million. Bull case, 49 million. And he goes through how we got to those numbers. But if you look, Bitcoin's price right now, 65K. Percentage of total assets, 0.1%. He obviously expects the global assets to grow over time. And he says, okay, bear case at 20x's in terms of percentage of assets, but keep in mind those assets grow in size over 20 years. Base case, 7%, bull case, 22%. He explained why. Maybe I'll do a longer video going through all this or playing the clip and letting you watch it. But he goes through why he thinks that the percentage of assets are going to get swallowed up by Bitcoin because it's the only thing that isn't going to tax you, isn't going to sue you, isn't going to erode away. Also, you can actually keep it for a very long time versus a lot of other assets. So there are a lot of reasons, right? Those are just a couple, but he says bull case, 50 million. Market cap would be $1 quadrillion then. I know, crazy, but again, as humans, we have a hard time understanding exponentiality. Let me just make sure that I'm showing the right screen, right? We have a hard time understanding exponentiality. People never thought the debt was going to get over $1 trillion for the US. It's over 30 trillion now, right? Like, everything happens quicker and quicker over time, obviously. So he goes on to talk about what you can do as a person, right? The do's and don'ts. What are some practical things that you can do to make sure that you don't screw up? Make Bitcoin your primary treasury asset. Convert excess earnings into Bitcoin. Utilize subsidized credit to invest in Bitcoin. Invest in tax-efficient entities and domains. Don't quit your day job. Okay, like, that makes sense. Go make the money and then shuffle it into Bitcoin. Lose your focus. Use margin loans or trade with leverage. Again, that is a bit of a personal decision, right? I use a small portion of my portfolio to leverage trade. And as you can see here, he goes through a scenario. $1 million worth of assets, including a $500,000 home, $250K mortgage at 5% interest rate, portfolio invest in equity and bonds, $200K earnings growing at 5% a year. This is for a family. 25% savings rate, ability to invest $50K excess earnings. Okay, net worth $750K. This family, right? Upper middle class family. He goes through different scenarios for how you can go about Bitcoin. Normie, 0% in Bitcoin. Okay, makes sense. Bitcoin, 10%. 10% of your portfolio. I met a lot of people that have around that amount. Excess earnings converted. So you earn 50K, you put 5K into Bitcoin. Makes sense. Okay. You like Bitcoin in this scenario, but you're not very aggressive. Bitcoin Maxi, 80% of your portfolio, Bitcoin. And there's a big gap here. It changes depending on what you're looking at too. Corporations versus nations. The amount of your portfolio changes too. But Bitcoin Maxi, 80%. Excess earnings convert to Bitcoin, 80%. So same thing. You make 50K, you put 40K in Bitcoin. Double Maxi, put everything in there. Everything that you earn is going to Bitcoin. And then you actually remortgage your house to buy more Bitcoin. And he's talked about this like in previous videos. If you remember, he says go leverage your house. If you have a family business, leverage your business, all that kind of stuff. Then triple Maxi, 100%, increase your mortgage and He says move to a low tax jurisdiction. So go to Dubai, go to Puerto Rico. So you get that extra 50K, double your savings rate. Boom. Like that is the nomad life where you can make a lot of money, shovel it all into Bitcoin. And this is interesting. Again, this is the hopium. Of course, the price targets from earlier were the hopium too. But let's look at these numbers. Okay, net worth based on, I believe this is the base case strategy. If you were a normie, ARR, you might be worth $8 million. Okay, 50 grand a year. You continue to grow based on normal appreciation rate. Bitcoin, you get up to 1 Bitcoin by putting 10% into Bitcoin. You're worth 21 million. So 1.5 times as much. Okay. Bitcoin Maxi, you go 80% Bitcoin, 80% of your savings into Bitcoin. You're worth 5x that. Over 10x what the normie is. Double Maxi, so everything, and then remortgage, 159 million. Triple Maxi, 214 million. Okay, and I realize these are very high numbers. Like you're talking about someone that makes 250K. You're saying that they're taking out equity for 250K. They're moving to a different jurisdiction for an extra 50K. Like not everyone can do that, but a good portion of the audience does make a good amount of money. And it shows you how much Bitcoin you need. So I mean, you can just look at this. Maybe you're already out of Bitcoin. Even if you didn't put anything into Bitcoin from now on out, he's saying you're going to be worth 21 million in the base case. And then on and on. So up to 15.9, he's saying 214 mil based on 2045 numbers. He goes through this with nations, why nations would want to do this, why companies would want to do this. And it is fascinating. One thing that I had never thought about that he brought up is the fact that if you're a nation, I've thought about how obviously they can issue debt, they can print money to go buy Bitcoin, this finite asset. Something I hadn't considered is if you're thinking about your nation's security, or if you're thinking about your nation's balance sheet, right? If you hold a lot of, let's say gold, you hold a lot of natural resources, you get in a war, those can be taken away from you, those can be destroyed. Bitcoin, they can nuke you, they can they can enslave people, they can do whatever they want, they can't get your Bitcoin, which is interesting, right? So a lot of interesting stuff. Like I said, it was a very cool environment. And right after Michael Saylor got done, Bitcoin's price went up. So I think we had a lot of people literally smash buy in their accounts, right? Going to Coinbase, smash buying. Right? It's very interesting. I had a couple people say, I was thinking about real estate, but why even do that? Let's just buy Bitcoin, right? It's a fascinating thing, but obviously it's all about balancing the portfolio, making sure that you're in a good position and having some diversification. Let me know your thoughts though. Let me know what you think about this. Maybe I'll make a longer video at some point, but let me know down below in the comments. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. There was another public company, a penny stock on the NASDAQ that also announced that they were buying Bitcoin for their balance sheet. So that's pretty cool. Let me know your thoughts though. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I'll see you all in the next video. Bye.